You ever notice how the world moves? How it spins and turns, always in motion, always in a hurry? People rushing here and there, chasing dreams, chasing love, chasing connection. But in the midst of all that noise, all that chaos, there's a woman with no friends. And you might wonder, how does she survive? How does she breathe in a world that seems to thrive on connection, on community, on the idea that no man or woman is an island? But let me tell you something, sometimes the strongest people are the ones who stand alone, not because they want to, but because they've learned to, because they've had to. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, it's not. Loneliness is a heavy burden to carry. It's like walking through life with an invisible weight on your shoulders, a weight that nobody else can see but you feel every single day. You wake up in the morning and there's no one to call, no one to share your coffee with, no one to laugh with, no one to cry with. And you start to wonder, is there something wrong with me? Am I broken? Am I unlovable? But here's the truth. Being alone doesn't mean you're unworthy of love. It doesn't mean you're flawed or damaged. Sometimes it just means you're different. And different isn't bad. Different is just different. You see, this woman with no friends, she's not weak, she's not pitiful, she's strong, stronger than most people will ever understand, because she's learned to rely on herself. She's learned to be her own best friend, her own confidant, her own source of strength. And that's not something everyone can do. Most people need others to validate them, to affirm them, to make them feel like they matter, but not her. She's found a way to matter to herself. And that, my friends, is a rare and beautiful thing. But let's not romanticize it too much. Loneliness is still loneliness. It's still hard. It's still painful. There are days when she feels the weight of it all, when the silence feels like it's going to swallow her whole. And on those days, she might cry. She might scream into the void. She might wonder if it's all worth it. But then she picks herself up. She dusts herself off, and she keeps going. Because that's what she does, that's who she is. She's a survivor, a fighter, a woman who refuses to be defined by her circumstances. And let's talk about those circumstances for a minute. How does a woman end up with no friends? Is it by choice? Is it by chance? Is it because she's been hurt too many times, betrayed too many times, let down too many times? Maybe she's been through things that most people can't even imagine. Maybe she's been abandoned, rejected, forgotten. Maybe she's been told in ways both big and small that she doesn't belong, that she's not enough, that she's too much. And after a while, those messages start to sink in. They start to shape you. They start to define you. But here's the thing, they don't have to. This woman, she's not defined by her loneliness. She's not defined by the absence of friends. She's defined by her resilience, by her courage, by her ability to keep going even when everything inside her is telling her to stop. And that's something to admire. That's something to respect. Because it's easy to be strong when you have a support system, when you have people cheering you on, lifting you up, holding you together. But when you have none of that, when you're all alone, that's when true strength is revealed. Now, I'm not saying she doesn't want friends. I'm not saying she doesn't crave connection, intimacy, companionship. Of course she does. She's human. And humans are wired for connection. We're wired to love and be loved, to belong and be belonged to. But sometimes life doesn't give us what we want. Sometimes it gives us what we need. And maybe, just maybe, this woman needs this time alone. Maybe she needs this season of solitude to figure out who she is, what she wants, what she deserves. Maybe she needs to learn how to love herself before she can love anyone else. And maybe, just maybe, that's okay. Because here's the thing about being alone. It teaches you things you might never learn in a crowd. It teaches you about yourself, about your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your dreams. It teaches you how to be still, how to listen, how to be present in your own life. And that's a gift, a hard gift, but a gift nonetheless. Because when you know yourself, truly know yourself, you become unstoppable. You become unshakable. You become the kind of person who doesn't need anyone else to complete them because you're already whole. And that's the woman we're talking about. A woman who's whole, a woman who's complete, a woman who doesn't need friends to validate her existence because she knows her worth, she knows her value, she knows that she's enough, just as she is. And that, my friends, is a powerful thing. Because in a world that's constantly telling us we're not enough, not thin enough, not smart enough, not successful enough. This woman stands as a reminder that we are, that we always have been, that we always will be. So the next time you see a woman with no friends, don't pity her, don't judge her, don't assume she's lonely or sad or broken. Instead, look at her with respect, look at her with admiration, look at her with the understanding that she's been through things you can't imagine, and she's come out stronger on the other side. Because that's what life does. It breaks us down, it tears us apart, it leaves us with nothing but ourselves. And in those moments, we have a choice. We can fall apart or we can rise. We can give up or we can keep going. We can let the world define us or we can define ourselves. This woman, she's chosen to rise. She's chosen to keep going. She's chosen to define herself. And that's not just inspiring, it's revolutionary. Because in a world that's always trying to tell us who we are, she's decided to tell the world who she is. And that takes courage, that takes strength, that takes a kind of resilience that most people will never understand. So let's not underestimate her, let's not overlook her, let's not dismiss her as someone who's alone, someone who's lonely, someone who's lost, because she's not lost. She's found herself. And in a world that's constantly searching for meaning, for purpose, for connection, that's the greatest victory of all. A woman who has no friends is not weak. In fact, she is often stronger than most because she has learned to rely on herself in ways others may never have to. Society tends to view solitude as a sign of deficiency, a lack of connection that somehow diminishes a person's value. However, this is a limited and often incorrect perspective. A woman who walks alone through life has had to develop a kind of resilience that others may never understand. She has faced moments of silence and stillness that have forced her to reflect on her own strengths and weaknesses, to confront her fears without the comfort of external validation. The ability to rely on oneself is not something that comes naturally to everyone. It is a skill honed through experience, through trials that demand inner fortitude. Loneliness is a profound and painful experience, one that can weigh heavily on a person's heart. Yet it does not define a person's worth. Many people experience loneliness at some point in their lives, but a woman who has no friends learns to navigate this feeling without allowing it to consume her identity. The quiet moments that stretch between conversations, the solitude of walking alone in a world filled with groups and partnerships, the realization that there may be no one to call when things get tough, all of these can be painful realities, but they do not mean she is any less valuable or capable. Loneliness can be endured, and through that endurance she finds a strength that is rare and formidable. Being alone teaches a person to be self-reliant, to develop a kind of resilience that is not dependent on the opinions or support of others. This is not to say that companionship is not valuable, but rather that learning to stand alone is an important skill in a world where relationships can be unpredictable and fleeting. A woman who has no friends must learn to make decisions without a chorus of voices advising her, must find comfort without reassurance from others, must build a life that is satisfying without the constant presence of companionship. In this way, solitude becomes a crucible for growth, forging a person who is independent, resourceful, and unafraid to walk their own path. It is a misconception that being alone means someone is flawed or unlovable. Society often equates social connection with personal worth, implying that those who have fewer relationships are somehow lacking. This could not be further from the truth. Some people simply do not fit into conventional social molds. They may have different values, different ways of seeing the world, or different priorities that do not align with the majority. This does not mean they are broken or unworthy of love. It simply means they are different. And being different is not a weakness. It is a mark of individuality, a sign of a person who has chosen authenticity over conformity. Loneliness can sometimes feel like an invisible weight, a burden carried without recognition or relief. It can create moments of aching emptiness, longing for connection that may not come. Yet even in this pain, there is strength. The ability to carry loneliness without letting it break you is a testament to inner resilience. It forces a person to develop coping mechanisms, to find meaning and joy in places others might overlook. It teaches the importance of being comfortable with oneself, of finding solace in one's own thoughts and experiences rather than seeking constant external validation. A woman with no friends is often a survivor. She has faced hardships that others might not understand, endured rejection, betrayal, or circumstances beyond her control, and yet she continues forward. The absence of friendship does not mean an absence of struggle. It often means quite the opposite. She has had to weather storms alone, to navigate challenges without a safety net, to build herself up when no one else was there to do so. This survival is not just about existing, but about continuing to grow, to find joy and purpose even in solitude. How someone ends up alone is complex. It could be the result of deep betrayals that have made trust difficult, a history of rejection that has led to self-protection, or simply the natural unfolding of life circumstances. Some people find themselves alone because they choose to prioritize their own growth over shallow relationships, because they refuse to settle for companionship that does not align with their values. Others may have once had friends, but found that people drift away, that life moves in directions that separate them from those they once held dear. Whatever the reason, being alone is not always a choice, but how one responds to it is. Solitude offers a unique opportunity for self-discovery. Without the distractions of constant interaction, a person is able to reflect more deeply on their own thoughts, desires, and values. It provides space for growth, for understanding oneself in a way that is not possible when constantly surrounded by others. In solitude, a person learns what truly matters to them, what brings them joy, what their true purpose may be. It is a time for introspection, for cultivating inner peace, for developing a sense of self that is unshaken by external opinions. A person's worth is not determined by the number of friends they have, but by their character and resilience. Too often, people measure their value by how many connections they maintain, how many invitations they receive, how many people show up for them in times of need. But true worth is not found in numbers, it is found in integrity, in kindness, in the ability to persevere despite challenges. A woman who has no friends is not less worthy than one who is constantly surrounded by others. She is simply walking a different path, one that may require more strength, more self-awareness, more courage. Even the strongest individuals crave companionship, because human beings are wired for connection. The desire for intimacy, for understanding, for shared experiences is a natural part of being human. A woman who is alone may not seek out friendships in the way others do, but this does not mean she does not long for connection. The difference is that she has learned to be whole on her own, to find fulfillment without dependency. When she does find connection, it is not out of desperation, but out of genuine appreciation for the presence of another. Solitude is a teacher. It imparts lessons about strength, about stillness, about self-awareness. It forces a person to confront their own fears, to sit with their emotions without distraction, to learn what truly matters to them. It is a space of deep growth, a journey into understanding oneself in ways that constant socialization does not allow. Those who embrace solitude learn to find beauty in quiet moments, to appreciate their own company, to cultivate inner peace. A woman who knows herself is already whole. She does not need others to complete her, because she has found completion within herself. She understands that her value is not tied to social validation, that her worth is not dependent on the opinions of others. She walks through life with confidence, not because she does not feel loneliness, but because she has learned that being alone does not make her any less. In a world that constantly tells people they are not enough, a woman with no friends stands as a testament to self-worth and self-acceptance. She does not measure her value by external standards, does not seek approval to validate her existence. She is enough as she is, and she knows it. Her journey may be different, but it is no less meaningful. Instead of pitying someone who is alone, we should respect their journey. It takes immense strength to stand alone, to navigate life without the constant presence of companionship. This is not a path of weakness, but of immense courage. A woman who defines herself on her own terms is engaging in a revolutionary act, refusing to be shaped by societal expectations. This is not just a personal choice, but a powerful declaration of independence, a refusal to be limited by the world's definitions of success and happiness. Her solitude is not a sign of lack, but of immense strength. Society has long glorified the idea of having a vast network of friends, portraying it as the ultimate measure of one's social success and emotional fulfillment. The media bombards us with images of people laughing in groups, attending parties, and sharing their lives with a seemingly endless number of companions. Yet, beneath the surface of these idealized portrayals, there exists a stark reality, one that often goes unspoken. Not all friendships are built on genuine connection, mutual respect, and deep understanding. Many are formed out of convenience, societal pressure, or even fear of solitude. A woman who has no friends is often met with puzzled expressions, raised eyebrows, and whispered judgments. People assume she must be antisocial, unlikable, or flawed in some fundamental way. But what if the truth is far more profound? What if she has consciously chosen a path that prioritizes authenticity over conformity? In a world where friendships are frequently measured by numbers rather than depth, she recognizes that the illusion of perfection in relationships can be misleading. There are countless individuals who surround themselves with friends yet feel profoundly alone. They engage in surface-level conversations, suppress their true thoughts to fit in, and maintain connections out of habit rather than genuine desire. This woman, however, refuses to settle for relationships that drain her energy or fail to nurture her spirit. She understands that walking away from toxicity, superficiality, and one-sided interactions is not an act of weakness, but a testament to her strength. She values peace over pretense, depth over display. She knows that true companionship is not about having many people around, but about finding the right ones, those who see her, understand her, and uplift her. Until she encounters such souls, she is content walking alone, secure in the knowledge that solitude is far more fulfilling than forced company. There is a unique power in silence, an energy that many fail to appreciate in a world that never stops talking. The constant hum of notifications, the chatter of acquaintances, the expectations to always be available, to always respond, to always engage. These distractions drown out the most essential voice of all, our own. This woman has learned to embrace solitude, not as a curse, but as a gift. She does not fear the quiet moments. Instead, she cherishes them, knowing that they offer her something precious: clarity. In the stillness of her own presence, she listens. She listens to her thoughts as they rise and fall like waves, unfiltered by external noise. She listens to the whispers of her intuition, guiding her toward what truly matters. She listens to the truths that so many try to ignore, the truths that only reveal themselves when one is willing to sit in silence and face. While others may equate silence with emptiness, she understands it is where the most profound realizations take root. Without the constant input of others' opinions, she can hear her own wisdom. Without the pressure to fill the air with words, she can appreciate the depth of unspoken understanding. She has mastered the art of solitude, finding meaning in the spaces where others might feel discomfort. Through silence, she strengthens her mind. She gains a deeper awareness of herself, her emotions, her desires, and her boundaries. She no longer seeks validation from the outside world because she has learned that everything she needs already exists within her. Loneliness is often painted as a dark and dreadful experience, something to be avoided at all costs. But what if loneliness is not a punishment, but a path to healing? What if, in the absence of others, she has been given the space to truly understand herself? Many people use social interactions as a way to distract themselves from their own inner struggles. They fill their days with plans, their minds with conversations, and their time with company, not because they crave connection, but because they fear introspection. This woman has faced the silence head-on. She has allowed herself to sit with the pain, to acknowledge the wounds, to unravel the knots of past hurts and disappointments. She does not run from her emotions, she embraces them. She gives herself permission to feel deeply, to grieve what was lost, to process what still lingers in the corners of her heart, and in doing so, she finds healing. Without the influence of others clouding her judgment, she sees things more clearly. Patterns in her past relationships, cycles she is ready to break, lessons she is meant to carry forward. She discovers a strength she never knew she had, a resilience that comes from facing herself fully and honestly. She does not numb the pain with distractions, she transforms it into wisdom. Every wound she tends to becomes a source of growth. Every tear shed waters the roots of her becoming. She emerges from this solitude not broken, but whole, not weakened, but empowered. Independence is a quality that is often misunderstood, especially in women. Society teaches that to be independent is to be distant, cold, or unapproachable. A woman who stands on her own is often met with skepticism. Why does she not seek the companionship of others? Does she believe she is above needing anyone? But true independence is not about rejecting connection. It is about ensuring that connection is chosen, not required. This woman does not isolate herself out of disdain for others, but out of love for herself. She understands that her happiness, her worth, and her success are not contingent on anyone else. She does not wait for someone to complete her, because she is already whole. Her solitude is not a statement of defiance, but of self-sufficiency. She does not chase relationships out of loneliness. She welcomes them only when they align with her values. She does not seek approval from the world, she validates herself. And because she is content on her own, the relationships she eventually builds, if she chooses to build them, are founded on genuine connection, not dependency. She does not fear being alone because she has cultivated a life she loves, a life where she is the architect of her own happiness. Despite this, society continues to label those who are alone as outcasts, as misfits who must be pitied or fixed. A woman without friends is seen as incomplete, as though her existence is only meaningful when reflected in the eyes of others. But she challenges these narratives. She redefines what it means to be whole. She is not waiting for someone to save her from solitude, because she does not see solitude as something to be rescued from. She is not lonely, she is free. She does not conform to the world's expectations because she has created her own standards. And in this quiet rebellion, she finds peace. In choosing herself over forced connections, in valuing depth over superficiality, in embracing silence as a source of power, she discovers something that many spend their whole lives searching for: authenticity. She does not measure her worth by the number of people who surround her, but by the strength of her own spirit. She does not fear the whispers of those who do not understand her path, because she walks it with confidence. She is not lost, she is exactly where she is meant to be. And in that place of self-sufficiency, she stands unshaken, whole, and beautifully, unapologetically herself. And so she stands undaunted, unwavering, and unapologetically herself. In a world that tells her she must be surrounded to be complete, she defies the narrative and finds fulfillment within. She does not seek validation from fleeting connections or force herself into spaces that do not honor her truth. Instead, she embraces the quiet, the stillness, the sacred solitude that so many fear. She has learned that being alone is not a weakness but a profound strength. It is in this solitude that she has found clarity, resilience, and an unshakable sense of self. She does not measure her worth by the company she keeps, but by the peace she cultivates. Society may misunderstand her, label her, even pity her, but she does not seek their understanding. She does not need permission to exist fully in her own presence. Because she knows that solitude is not emptiness, it is freedom. It is the space where she listens, where she heals, where she grows. It is where she learns to love herself so deeply that when she chooses to let others in, it is not out of need, but out of choice. And that choice is her greatest power. So let the world wonder, let them question, let them misunderstand. She will not explain, she will not justify, she will not seek approval. She will simply live, whole, self-sufficient, and beautifully at peace with the life she has chosen.